Welcome to the library studio of the YAHOWAH blog. We are here with Leah. We have Wookie. We also have Rich on the controls. And we will be returning to Qatsyr Harvest. This is volume 5 of the Yada Yahowah series. And it's a rather complete book, as you can see. We have, done how many episodes so far on Qatsyr Harvest, Rich?
We're into our 50s.
64.
54 episodes so far.
64.
64?
Yeah.
64 episodes so far. And I would have to tell you that we're not quite halfway through.
Nope.
Because there are 2 harvests that are under this designation, although the second one is technically Lakat and could start a new series. But this is germane for our time because the Shabat harvest is the next to be fulfilled among the Moed Mikre. It is 7 years before Yahweh and Dod's return on Yom Kippurim, and the preceding sacrifice of the Adamah Parah, of the arrival of the Torahless one in Jerusalem, and of his abomination, which is to declare that he is a god. And prior to that, of course, is the Shabat harvest, May 22nd of 2026. And it is at an interesting moment in time because this harvest is the beginning of what's called the time of troubles, that sometimes called the time of Jacob's troubles, which would be Israel's troubles. And it is associated with the time that Israel will be dissected and a Islamic state of terror will be carved out of her very heart so that she becomes indefensible, leading to what the prophets describe as Al-Aqsa flood 2.0. And just out of a point of interest, since in Daniel, when Gabriel, who is Dod, as we know, presents the timing of things, he speaks of the Torahless one, of this adversary's advocate, of being the one who ushers in the state that is carved out of the heart of Israel, of affirming this covenant with many. The meeting for that, by the way, is now scheduled for, within the next 2 weeks, late July, at the United Nations. It is being headlined by Donald Trump, who is the one orchestrating it, who's already decided upon and spoken in favor of, and even had Netanyahu in his last visit announce that there will be a Palestinian state. And second to Trump in its presentation is Macron, representing the EU, and MBS, the psychopath of Saudi Arabia, representing the Islamic world. But guess
what a wily group, huh?
Yeah, but guess who is not invited to participate in the two-state solution? That would be Israel. But it's going to be imposed. It will be brought into effect prior to the time of this harvest and the beginning of the time of Yisrael's troubles, when she becomes indefensible, which is 22 May of 2026. But it is interesting, and I'm just going to throw this out as a teaser, because I'm working right now on retranslating
Daniel's timeline.
Daniel. I've just finished Daniel 12. So I'm moving now backwards, back to Daniel 7, and we'll go all the way through the process. But in Daniel 12, it describes the time that this devil's advocate is going to arrive in Jerusalem. It gives us that date. That date happens to be the 29th of January in 2030. That is still during Ramadan, but it is 1 week exactly to the concluding feast of Ramadan, which is the biggest, most important day of the Islamic calendar.
The other
every
feast of
year.
the beast.
And so this person is going to arrive to celebrate Ramadan in Jerusalem. So that's an interesting thought. It is in January of 2030. It would be a 1 year from the time that should there actually be elections in the United States in 2028 at the end of 2028, and therefore a new president in 2029 in January. It will be 1 year from that time. And this fellow is going to make the abominable announcement regarding his stature. He's not actually going to cause anything to cease. That prior translations that have religious translations that say that he's going to bring the continuance of the
sacrifices to
an end.
No.
That doesn't say that at all. It actually talks about that the Shabuah harvest is going to happen, and then after the Shabuah harvest, there's going to be this declaration of the abominable action, which is described as a religious pronouncement, which is quite clear. He's going to announce that he is God.
I am so going to mock him.
So it's really interesting that there is only one politician today who is presented as a Messiah, as a God, even perceived as a Messiah in Israel, that is loved in Israel.
Our new
and that
Cyrus.
has a huge, almost godlike following in the United States. And he is that very person that Isaiah said would be the one that betrays Israel with the two-state solution.
He might be orange, right?
So he might be orange.
Yeah.
Just a little orangish. So it's interesting just to put those pieces together, because that's the only person who fits all of this all the way through. And he would be welcomed right now.
Yeah, I mean, he was Epstein's friend for 15 years. He denies it now.
He has the highest approval rating in Israel of any country in the world, including the United States.
And he's the biggest scumbag in the United States.
He is their betrayer. But, Israel has never been good at identifying who actually they should rely upon and who actually they shouldn't trust. So it's an interesting phenomenon.
Well, actually, Israel's real problem is that she's self-reliant.
Right. But the only person who could be identified at the beginning of the time of troubles, this last 7 years, as the one who is responsible for bringing this treaty into fruition, well, it would be the Donald. It's either the Donald or you're going to choose MPS or Macron. So I think you got the Donald.
The comedy we could perpetrate on Donald J. Trump if he proclaims himself a god. Yeah. I will have he's
already called
this
himself
is
the
going to be
one.
juicy.
He's presented himself as the Pope, and his followers present him as a god all of the time. So it is certainly within the popularity. He is a narcissist. He's a cult of one, and could do it. So the only issue really is whether or not the very subtle innuendo that this 10 horns that grow out of the Roman Empire and then out of the Roman Catholic Church should also include the empire of Alexander of Macedon. And so whether or not you have to go that far east to find this individual, or whether or not you just stay right there in the heart of the Roman Empire. And since it's the Roman Catholic Church, and you look for a place where you had the Roman Empire have a smaller, more recent independent country. And Trump's father doesn't prevail in this because his father's father's father came from Germany, which is not a recent country, nor a small country, but his mother. Where do Jews trace their heritage? If you have a Jewish father and a Goyim mother, are you considered Jewish or Goy?
Yeah, you're considered Jewish.
No, you're considered Goy.
Or Goy.
So, yeah, you got that wrong. And you're a student of this. That is
no, the rabbis.
No, by mother.
Consider.
By mother.
Yeah, my mother.
That is correct. That was the question I asked you.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you have
Sorry.
a Jewish father and
okay.
according to Jewish tradition, you are a goy.
You're a goy. Yeah.
And if you have a goyim father but a Jewish mother, you're considered by Jews to be what? Jewish.
Jewish.
Okay, you got that. So there we are. His mother came from a small island in Scotland. And Scotland has its own parliament now and is independent of the UK, with the exception of its defense and its foreign relations.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have a little horn that has
it's a vassal of England.
very recently in the last 20 years broken away. That's just something worth thinking about. We'll pursue this and hone it in a little bit, but boy, there is so long as Hasatan can keep him on his feet for another 8 years. Boy, do we ever have
if MAGA doesn't tear him apart first.
Oh, an ideal candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have to survive the Epstein episode between now and then. But he's really good at that kind of stuff. There's never been anybody who was better at blaming their even present allies, like he's blaming now MAGAs for making the Epstein files a big deal. But never been somebody that was better at devouring their own than Trump. He's the best probably in history at destroying, slandering, and obliterating the character and the political, even business prowess of anyone. Like, look, he went after Elon Musk, who's the guy that kept him out of jail. If it wasn't for Elon Musk, he would be in jail now, not in the White House. So he devours his own, which is one sign. You can't trust the man. He will. If you are close to him, he will find a reason to eventually turn on you. He does on everybody. Mm-hmm. He is the Hannibal Lecter of politicians.
It's very common among malignant narcissists. They ruin lives.
He has been trained since his New York associations, where you had to have the mob lawyer to never apologize and always attack. And that's what he does. And so he is the person who is always on the attack, never accepts responsibility for anything, and slanders and demeans everyone. And he is also survives through chaos.
Welcome to the Trump show.
Right. Everything he does
it's all about him.
Is chaotic and destructive.
Yep.
But he covers over the disaster of his last cathartic attack on America, whether it's economic or it's political or it's militaristic, by coming up with a new calamity next week.
Yeah.
So every week there's a new calamity. So by the time you're into this, you've forgotten the
other calamity,
the 20 calamities that have come before, because he's got a new one. And the new one right now is declaring war on Russia.
Yep.
Is his newest one. Before that, he was declaring war on Iran, and before that, he was declaring economic war on China and all these other. I mean, it's just one string of fiascos after another.
He's running from something.
Total duplicity with no association with reality. They're really a pretty credible candidate for this role, loved in Israel. And now he's gone from being anti-Islam, where he spoke out against Islam in his first term, to now he says, "Oh, I never had such an appreciation for Islam now as I."
Psycho. He's gone full sycophant.
$16.5 billion worth of bribes.
It'll buy you a lot of influence.
That buys a lot of love. And so he's owned and operated by the three emirs and crown prince in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. So there you have it. He is the perfect candidate at this point. Yeah. He even has his daddy was raised Presbyterian, so he has got some Christian background and some, and now he has embraced Islam. He's the. Well, we'll find out. At this point, that's where the prophetic finger points. But I do have all the rest of the days for you. I can tell you when he's going to make this declaration. It is on a Friday, the 15th of March of 2030 is when he's going to make this declaration. And then it is then on Passover, which was what I originally had deduced. And then we had a couple of women that were part of our company who, no, it can't be that because it's, the number of days. And they have no idea what they're talking about. It is on Passover. It's not the evening of Passover, though.
It is the
day of Passover. So it's halfway through Passover that the two witnesses will arrive. And the terminus date for all of those prophecies is not Sukkah. It ain't even Kippurim.
Nope.
The terminus date is Satan's terminus date. It's the terminus date of the time of troubles. It's when all of the adversaries that are coming against Israel are dispensed. It is the time when, according to the prophecy, when those Jews who have arrived in Israel are purged. This is on Towrah. And it's not even on the first half of Towrah. It's on the second half of Towrah as the sun rises on the Shabat of September 24th. So halfway through Passover, halfway through Towrah, it meets the 3 cycles of full moedim and half. So they arrive on as the sun rises on Passover in 2030. A couple of weeks after, about a month after the Torahless one makes his pronouncement that he is God, because that is March 15th, of Friday, and then on the 18th, which is the day of Passover in 2030, is when the two witnesses are going to arrive.
So you mean to say that they got it wrong?
Yeah, well, yes,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But that is
just
wondering.
Yeah.
The prophecy, and we're going to get into it because it's part of Chakma Chodar as we go through it. But the prophecy is really quite interesting in this regard because it speaks of the same terminus date all the way through. The same terminus date is Towrah, and it's halfway through Towrah. It's the Towrah of the what's known as the red heifer of the Adamah Parah. And Dode even explains in the prophecy how he's going to die. He gives the whole sweep of time of this process. So that's the terminus date. And from there, you either go back the 3.5 series of Moedim, which puts you into the second part of Passover, 3.5 years earlier, but it's not 3.5 years. It's
3.5 Moedim.
Yeah, so 3.5 cycles of Moedim put you on Passover in 2030, and then the other the numbers, they don't apply to that at all. The 1290 and the 13 what is it? 35, the 1335, 45 days different between the two. They don't apply to the witnesses at all. The witnesses have been dated. The witnesses are arriving on Passover. They complete their job on Towrah. That is their time. That's okay. And that's done deal. Yeah. Then you have the timing of 1290, 290 days from Satan's demise to the time that he announces that he's a god. That takes you to the Friday, March 15th date.
TikTok, baby, it's coming.
Right. And then it says, it's extraordinary the people who survive this entire time. And the entire time then is 45 days longer. And so you have to add 45 days to the time that, if it's Trump, but whoever is the devil's advocate, makes his pronouncements he's a god, that's his religious pronouncement. He arrives 45 days prior to that to establish himself as the supreme ruler politically. And so it establishes his arrival in Ramadan, and it also establishes that Ezekiel was correct, and that there will be only one of Yahweh's Moedim that will be honored by the Torahless one. And then he changes the date and changes the essence of it. But Passover is the only one that's changed. And you'll find by doing this analysis that he's changing Passover to Ashura Day.
Oh,
which will tickle both the Christians and the Muslims.
Oh, of course they're going to eat
because
it
Ashura
up.
is the mother of God and the Queen of Heaven. That is the Madonna child in Christianity.
The whore.
And yes, and
the prominent whore.
she is the rabbinical whore.
Oh yes.
That is the Queen of Heaven that the rabbis have been pronouncing. In fact, Muhammad picked it up because the rabbis were celebrating it. It integrates Islam, Christianity, and Judaism to have Passover moved, the satanic Passover moved to Ashura Day, which is what he is.
Oh, isn't that
lovely?
lovely?
So it is when you. But we have
the
fresh
whore,
eyes.
the Zona's making a comeback. Okay.
Yes, so it is.
Okay.
And it's also interesting that in the 12th chapter of Daniel, there are 3 guys. There's 3 guys there. And those 3 guys are clearly Dod as Gabriel, Yada as Michael.
Yep.
And there's no question that Yada is Michael. And Elia. Those are the 3 guys that are there. And the whole conversation is between them. And Daniel is nothing but a scribe. He says, I can't figure this out. What in the world are you guys talking about?
He's such a schmuck.
I got no clue what's going on here. And then he's just told, hey, pal, write it down and go about your life.
Yeah.
Seal it up. No one's going to understand it until the final witness arrives. And just before the end, he is going to explain it to you.
Well, let's be fair. The witness didn't even understand it until recently.
Well, that's correct. That's well.
That book was actually
we're
sealed.
talking about this week.
Yeah.
is when I understood the 12th chapter.
Pretty
because
amazing.
You have to have so much understanding of what's going to happen on Towrah with the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah and the timing of the Shabuah harvest to be able to put all of this together in sequence and then recognize that. And the beginning, he's talking about Moed, Mohadim, and Qatsyr in half.
Yeah.
And so that gives you the timing of their arrival and the completion of their work. And then he has the 2 numbers for
without the prior pieces in place, it was impossible. That book was actually sealed.
Yeah. So it's just amazing to see it now. I'm going back and I'll finish the evolution of those 10 horns and the like. And that's why I was checking to see what the Donald had in terms of his past. And his mom comes from Scotland. His dad comes from Germany. They're both part of the Roman Empire, but from a ethnicity point of view, he would be perceived as his mother's ethnicity, and that would be Scotland, which would fit all of the criteria that we're given in this. So anyway, we'll have to see how it all plays out. I'm a little ahead of where we will be in that regard. Nevertheless, we are studying Yoel because Yoel is the most comprehensive prophet as it pertains to talking about all of the really nasty stuff that takes place during the time of trouble. Yeah. And in the statement that we considered in our last program on Qatsyr harvest, which I think was probably a week ago Friday as part of our family hour, I had read the following. It says, I will avoid any association with and remove the invading army from the north, whose objectives are concealed, along with their use of stealth and duplicity from within and over you. Now, before we go on to the rest of this statement, there's some really troubling stuff. Not affirming stuff as it relates to the prophecies as we know it, but really troublesome stuff that's coming out of Syria.
Oh, yes.
And what's coming out, and obviously Syria is the country directly north. But Syria is not Syria anymore.
No, it's got Al-Jalani, who changed his name to
Okay,
Mr. Shahara.
He is nothing but a figurehead.
Terrorist in a suit.
He is nothing but a figurehead. Syria is now southern Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
That is why Erdogan armed the Islamic State to oust Assad, because he could not control Assad, but he has total control over Al-Jalani.
Yes.
And Al-Jalani's best BFF now is also MBS of Saudi Arabia, who's the one who brought him in for Trump to say, holy water bless. He's a very attractive man.
Yeah.
A strong man, a fighter. And to
Trump
relieve all
loves,
sanctions on the Saudi
like
Arabia. It's a terrorist organization. But we've also found that Netanyahu was also involved with Erdogan and with Trump and with the MBS of Saudi Arabia for overthrowing Assad and replacing him with a Islamic State terrorist and Al-Jalani. And they're out today massacring the Druze. After having massacred the Alawites earlier. Oh, but they're peaceful. But they're peaceful. We shouldn't worry about this kind of thing. Really, it was strictly peaceful. So anyway, what we have is Turkey now very much involved and having its military established within Syria, which means it can come down from the north to augment this flood of jihadists. But there is more to it than that, and that Israel has recently picked up two exceedingly formidable foes. And if you're not paying attention, those formidable foes are Russia and China. Now, China was Israel's second largest trading partner, and for a long time, until the America started using Ukraine as a proxy against Russia, which means that the Mossad is involved because the CIA is involved. Russia was a reasonable ally of Israel. Not anymore. Now Russia is disgusted by Israel, and so is China. So they have two really formidable foes, both to the north of them, Russia directly to the north of them, who would come right through Turkey as well and could support Turkey in this. But you don't really need much from Russia in this regard because you have the support of NATO. Not that NATO has any prowess anymore, but being a member of NATO does give Erdogan and Turkey a military that Israel would have a very difficult time trying to beat back, particularly with millions of jihadists flooding into Israel at the time. So this is towards the conclusion of the last war that will be fought, and there's only one. It is an all-Islamic war, really against Israel, principally Islamic, in terms of there's a flood of terrorists that come in that Prophet Joel and also Yahowah say are just too numerous to count. They're like just this black flood that comes across and over the mountains and is into Israel, and then breaking into homes and pillaging, raping, murdering, this sort of thing. And it looks like then they will be followed by an attack from the north that is particularly formidable, could be militaristic at this point because Israel's IDF will have been rendered useless, incompetent. They couldn't stand up.
There's no military in the world that could withstand jihadists.
Well, that's correct.
They're not built to.
We've entered a period of time where there is only now one, maybe two countries that could actually fight a sustained war. And they are Russia and China, because they have the industrial might to actually resupply both troops and weapons. But the other part of it that is quite interesting is that as we are moving now into this new generation of warfare, apart from actually deploying nuclear weapons, which I think is going to happen, warfare cannot be prosecuted effectively as Israel wants to do it or America wants to do it. I mean, America lost to the Houthis. We lost America.
The scape of warfare has changed completely.
America lost in Vietnam. America lost in Afghanistan. America lost in Iraq. America lost in Syria for the most part, other than they got their terrorist guy over it. Clearly made a big mess in Lebanon, but it lost to the Houthis. So this idea that you're going to win wars with aircraft carrier battle groups, they're nothing but floating coffins. There's only one naval asset that actually can prevail, and if it prevails, it's the end of life on Earth, and that would be a boomer, a submarine, a nuclear submarine. So the Navy's got nothing to offer, and the last thing you want to do now with in terms of a war against any major country, like, for example, Russia or China, is to fly a manned airplane, because they cannot avoid the missiles, and that's a perfect use of missiles. But missile defense is now a goner. Israel's been so proud of the Iron Dome and all that sort of thing. Well, I'm going to tell you, they used a year's supply of THAAD missiles in this last bombardment, and we're out of them. And it will take the United States a year to make another series of THAAD missiles, and they will last again 2 weeks, and they will be out of THAAD missiles. So that system just doesn't work anymore. Same thing with the Arrow system, and that leaves them with the Iron Dome, and the Iron Dome has no answer for hypersonic missiles, and the interceptors cannot be produced at a rate that would keep up with missile and drone attacks. So missiles and drone are the new artillery. They're the new tanks. They're the new aircraft. They are it, and there's only two countries that have an unlimited supply of missiles and drones. That'd be China and Russia. And so we are in a very difficult, different kind of a situation, and Israel cannot defend itself from that kind of an attack. It will be outmatched by missiles versus interceptors in a very short order. And so what Yahowah is saying here is that in this last aspect, as the jihadists have infiltrated Israel, now not in numbers like previously at about 4,000, but closer to 4 million is the number. And I've done the math just to show you where they'll come from. But that's what's going to come into Israel. And no, there's no army in the world, no military in the world that can stop that. And then there will be this more traditional military force that will come in over them from the north. So Yahowah says, then I'm going to be the one who drives them out. I'm going to banish them into a realm that is parched and lifeless, a deserted desolation. Yahowah is going to incinerate them. Concerning his appearance facing towards the sea, he will meet his demise at the conclusion of this journey at the sea in the end, meaning that he is a goyim and is going to be run into the sea and out of the land. And by the way, the only place really in Israel that you could amass a sizable military would be in the valley of Jezreel, and it does end at the sea. So that is likely.
Yes, its terminus is the sea.
Right, what is going to happen in this case. And his stench will rise up, and his putrid smell will ascend because he acted boastfully. Well, if
it's Donald J. Trump, his putrid smell is already filling up the room. But
yes, but if it is the Donald who is the Torahless one in the last days, or anyone of his ilk, they meet their demise in a different way at this time, but on the Temple Mount, they're not driven into the sea. So they get to bludgeon the Adamah Parah, and the Adamah Parah, we're told that he's going to be Naga, which is beaten to a pulp by Dode. But Dode says, "Hey, don't sweat it. It's an ashery," which is really cool. So the first word that I translated, now almost 24 years ago. Dode,
and the name you gave
Dode
to your dog
is using to describe that. Okay, so you're going to get the crap beat out of you, but I did too. But as a result of that, you are going to receive this great benefit from me. Ashery.
It'll be good for the relationship.
So
Take one for the team.
It makes us, blood brothers of sorts. So, we got that going for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the only guy. You joined the club. Welcome to the club. It's a club of two. It's a result of being clubbed, and it is a club of two. So he does say it's a good thing. He's actually quite bullish about it, so to speak.
He's basically saying it's beneficial for the relationship.
Yeah, it is beneficial. That's what he says. So, and his stench, okay, so it's because he acted boastfully. Fear not, and do not be awed, earth or the land. And you got to say that because there's been nuclear war, there's been environmental calamity. Billions of people have died. 2/3 of the Jews in Israel and worldwide will have died. I mean, it's going to be
going to get ugly.
Going to be really ugly.
Very ugly.
And at this point, the poor animals are saying, "Good God, what's going on here? There's no place to hide anymore." And God is saying, "Don't sweat it. I got this under control. I'm returning the entire earth back to the conditions experienced during Eden." So he says, don't worry about it. We're gonna take care of this. Be glad and show a positive attitude, because Yahweh has done and will continue to do great things which enable our growth. Gadol. So this is a rather a positive thing. Now, the word, by the way, fear not and do not be awed. It is, and he says land or earth, it's Adamah. So it's directing our attention to Yahweh's remedy, because it is the Adamah Parah that ultimately is the resolution for all of this.
I need to ask before we move on, the Adamah Parah a question, because I'm all about accountability here. The result of many people dying and the world turning in on itself, would you say that is the domain of men and the result of his religion and politics, and the very thing that Yahweh himself asks us, begs us, pleads us to walk away from? Would you say that's the problem here at this point?
Well, it was a long question. So it was kind of like the press corps in Washington, D.C. They begin with a long narrative.
Sorry.
And then they beg the question at the end of it. I'm assuming what you're saying is the problem that humans are enduring man-made or God-made? And the answer, it's man-made. Politics and religion lead to this.
Religion
mess.
is not a victimless crime.
No, that is the case. So anyway, do not be awed, earth or land. Be glad, be happy, show a positive attitude, because Yahweh has done and will continue to do great things which enable our growth. God's very active during this last 3.5 years in particular, through these, well, let's call it the 3.5.
The Zikaron,
Moedim.
the 3 men. Yeah.
God's very, very active. These there will be miracles that will be displayed. He is helping his 2 witnesses accomplish the stated mission. And so God is announcing that. That's Yoel 2:21. Then it says, "Do not be distressed or concerned, animals of the open environment." I've shared this with you because God's going to turn the earth back into Eden. This has closure. Beautiful pastures and lovely dwelling places are going to emerge out of the barren wastelands, and everything is going to become now verdant and growing. So if there are deserts, there will be deserts just for the scenic beauty of there's interesting life in deserts, but most everything is going to be verdant and growing. Surely the tree lifts up and bears its fruit. Well, the tree that lifts up and bears its fruit are Dode, who is the shamak, the branch, and the choder, who is the stem off of both the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the branch of Dode, who represents the tree of lives.
And the stump that has fallen, Yisrael, is you.
Yeah, so the tree lifts up and bears its fruit. The choder is also a sucker that gives productive life to the fallen stump that is Israel. The fig tree, which is symbolic of Israel, as is the olive, and the vine, symbolic of the vineyard that Yahweh planted with Dode, give their vigor and strength. This is Yoel 2:22. So, Yahowah and I have about a 24-year history together, and in all of that time, I've never experienced fear. And since he's talking to the animals, and we humans are part of that, there is just no reason that any of us should be concerned. We shouldn't be distressed because the relationship with God is uplifting. Now, that's not to say that we don't have heartache or pain. We have to, otherwise we can't empathize with Yahowah and have the compassion that is, or even the grit, the fortitude that challenges, help to mold or forge our character. So we do have heartache and pain, but through it all, we grow, and not only in our ability to empathize with the fellow man, but mostly empathize with God and understand what He's been through. Now, that being known, Yahowah wants to be associated with people who have a positive, upbeat attitude. No deadbeats and shamaim. If you are a curmudgeon and everything in your world is unhappy, you just don't belong. You've got to have a positive attitude as we go forward.
If I may, before you go on, I think, and this is throughout the Torah, it is very well repeated. Do not fear. Do not fear. And I think that the Jewish mindset understands that, or perhaps it doesn't, but needs to understand that we are, as a people, quite neurotic, very neurotic. And until we stop to learn the truth and stop yibber-yabbering, and we're able to listen to Yahweh's words, I think we will consistently be neurotic.
Jews.
I think it's very much in our DNA. Yeah.
Stop praying and start listening. I mean, how many times on X do we say, please pray for us, please pray? And then you say, no, your problem is that you're yibber-yabbering and you should be listening.
You are estranged from Yahweh. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You can't identify your enemies. That's another. You want the world to love you so badly, it has turned you into a neurotic mess.
So in this particular case, Ashah, which means to engage and to act, it was written in the call infinitive construct, and by following it with Gadal, God is telling us that His actions have become synonymous with doing whatever is needed to facilitate our growth, our lives. And should we expect Him, and I think we should in this situation, to act in our best interest, the future is bright indeed. Yahowah is engaging to rear us as His children, elevate our status, nurture our understanding while cultivating our character. This is going to be a profoundly important moment for Him to display perfect parenting.
Yes, and if I may, I'm a part of the vine. I'm Yahud. And there is a lot to overcome from walking away from our Father's house, our traditions and our religion and our culture. However, I can assure you that if you do walk away and turn towards Yahweh, stop being self-reliant, He will help you grow. And you will retain your vigor. You won't be that neurotic Jew. And it is really wonderful on the other side.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, the use of Adamah. God is not only speaking to the ground, but instead of what gave birth to Adam, He is also saying that He can communicate with animals, which is the experience that Adam and Yahowah had in the Garden of Eden. And we're going to go back to that period where we can communicate far more effectively with all manner of animals, they to us, us to them. And beyond, I think, all of this, God is telling us, letting us know that the land man has wounded, He's going to restore, and we're returning to Gan Eden. Also, it is God's intent to use the Adamah Parah, this bloody red and productive bull to remedy the problems of his people so that they are restored. So renewed vigor of the fig in this particular case and the vine, they're both symbolic of Yisrael and of Yahweh's people flourishing in the land. Those who survive and respond to him at this time will be chalal. They will be enriched, empowered, and they are going to manifest noble characteristics. Rejoice over these favorable circumstances, children of Zion. Zion is that ridge line that goes from the house of Dod in the city of Dod at the far southern terminus of Mount Moriah, goes up the ridge line of Zion to the house for Yahweh's name, the covenant home, called a temple by many at the top of Mount Moriah on what's called the Temple Mount. And the Zion are the signs that are posted along that way, so we know how to get from one to the other.
Right, and all the signs point to what? The house for Yahweh's name.
And you get there by starting with Dod, because he is the one that fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakorim, and he is the exemplar of the covenant. Mm-hmm. And he is also the exemplar of Yisrael, so you get from one place to another by starting with Dod, and that'll take you to Yahweh.
He's your navigator.
Is what is what Zion means. And you can be children of those signs posted along the way. This is a marvelous opportunity. That does not make you a Zionist in the sense of politics. It makes you a child of Zion, these signs posted along the way. Demonstrate a positive attitude. We're back to Shemach. Be happy and express your relation outwardly with Yahweh, your God. But to do that, you would have to know Yahweh's name.
That's right.
Perhaps. Good start. Your God, for he has provided for you that which is associated with the autumn rains through a teacher who communicates what you need to know about the Torah to live. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a very expressive definition of more, is it not? But more is authorized, accurate, and informative instructions by pointing out and showing the directions. It is from ma, which means to ponder the implications of yara. You ever heard of yara before?
Yeah.
Yara is the verb upon which the word Torah is based.
Built. Yeah.
So yara is the actionable root of Torah. It means the source from which instruction, guidance, direction, and teaching flow. So a more would be fully defined, that which is associated with the autumn rains through a teacher who communicates to you what you need to know about the Torah to live. So it says Yahweh is providing one of these.
Question.
Yeah.
Is more the root word for Moriah?
No.
Okay.
They have some letters in common, like the Wah, the Rosh, and
they have few.
As the Mem, yes, they do have those.
Okay.
They do have all of those letters in common, but Moriah is said to be based on the root yare. Yare means to respect and to revere. So, and so it would be to ponder the implications of respecting and revering Yahweh would be Moriah. Okay. But it does share the
kind of all fits in the same family group.
The Mem, the Wah, the Rosh, and the Hay.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good group there. But in this particular case, the More is Moa.
Yeah, Yada.
Yada.
He is
Yada. That's why these books are all Yada Yahowah. He is the one who is a teacher who communicates what you need to know about the Torah. He is authorized. He's accurate. He's informative. His instructions point out the directions that one should be pondering. And that is from Ma and Yara. That was one of the most unique aspects of these translations. And I've shared so much of what is heretofore has never been done before. There's never been a translation, for example, that took the Dead Sea Scrolls seriously and restored the text and corrected it to the oldest witness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's never been a translation that scrubbed the words of their diacritical marks and examined every word that was written with the same letters.
No, they'd much rather be religious.
The first time that anybody has actually considered the pictographs that created the original alphabet and what those letters represent, so that you would understand what these words mean. Like the mem here is cleansing and life-giving waters. It also means of the sea, which would speak of a goyim. Mm-hmm. So life-giving and restoring waters associated with the goy. The wah means to add to and to increase.
Increase the home.
The rosh is a thoughtful individual who is observant and who listens before he speaks. And the hey is the individual who stands up, looks up, reaches up to Yahweh. So that is how you would define it. So, but with the other part of this that no one had done heretofore, beyond also putting the root of every word, or the most general form of every word, in the parenthetical, so that the cards were all face up on the table and you could validate the translations for yourself, which was never been done before. And then an amplified version where you went then and had the additional words, as I've shared here in this particular definition with you.
It's a beautiful system.
Which had never been done before.
Yeah.
That I also did something, the last thing that I want to share here is what I've done with this particular word. Every time there is a noun that is explained by its verbal actionable root, I've taken the time to do so. So I have always looked to find the root of words so that we could understand them in a more complete context. That's how we get to this. And collectively, almost no one has done any one of those things. And absolutely no one has done all of those things. And that is what has led to 5,000 to 10,000 profound insights that no one has perceived currently, or seen the entire picture, or understanding the timeline and how we get to it, is doing it this way. It just took took 24 years of 12,
it came
12
down
hours
to,
a day. But hey, what's 100,000 hours of study among friends?
I think that treating the text ethically for the first time and being highly transparent about the work along the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Shows not only the magnitude of the work, but the person behind it.
So demonstrate a positive attitude with Yahweh, your God, because he has provided for you that which is associated with the autumn rains through a teacher who communicates what you need to know about the Torah to live, who is authorized, accurate, and informative in his instructions to point out the necessary directions, so that you can be right and thus vindicated. La Sadaka. For you to be correct and acquitted, innocent and prosperous. That's a really good idea. Yeah, glad he thought of that.
So autumn rains, would that be like Towrah?
Well, the
Shabat?
autumn rains is just the way the word is defined in Hebrew lexicons. Based upon its actionable root, I threw it in there just because that's what's there in the Hebrew lexicons. And there is this visual symbolism of rain at the end, because autumn, that is when all of this happens. It's in late September 23rd and 24th, and then November 2nd and 3rd, and then October 3rd and 2nd and 3rd, and then October 7th for 8 days following that. We're talking about all the way through here. This is autumn. Yep. And we know that the land up to this point is going to be parched. Yes. And so this is the rain, new life to that parched land, and cleansing it And so there is symbolism associated with the autumn rains, even if the word does speak of guidance from the Torah. And this guidance from the Torah that is being provided through this individual that Yahweh is deploying is so that you can be right and vindicated. He has brought down for you an abundant shower.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I left the autumn rains aspect of it. It denotes the timing and denotes the cleansing effect of all of this, so that you can be right. And he has brought down for you an abundant shower of, well, here again, we have more of guidance and instruction, of pouring out and pointing out that which you should be contemplating regarding the Torah's teaching and directions, communicating this as a teacher so that you know and can live. About being gleaned and growing thereafter. Malkush, about being gathered together and finally harvest in the aftermath. From Ma, to ponder the implications of Lakash, of being gleaned and a final harvest and growing thereafter. Towrah is the final gleaning. There are none after Towrah. And so Towrah is what we're talking about here. This is the domain of the...
And if you want the skybox seats, you better get your ticket now.
You better.
Do not wait. I
would strongly suggest getting out of Dodge. In fact, that's one of the things that Dode as Gabriel makes really clear in the final chapter of Daniel, when he says is you want to get the last ride out of town before this time of trouble, and that's going to be on Shavuot. Get your ticket
now.
Have your bags packed. Be ready for Shavuot, because after Shavuot, bad things are going to happen. It's going to turn out well in the end, but it's going to be a rough ride along the way. So,
one correction: you won't need bags.
Well,
just
getting
come
your
as you are.
Just means that you're
You're
ready.
Out of here.
You're ready to you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So he has brought down for you an abundant shower of guidance and instruction, Morah, pouring out and pointing out which you should be contemplating regarding the Torah's teaching, about being gleaned and growing thereafter, Makosh, being gathered together and finally harvested in this aftermath, as was intended from the beginning. In other words, we're talking about what's going to happen 8 years from now. And Yahweh said, man, I had this all designed right from the beginning. This is the plan from the beginning, which is why Yahweh introduces Dode and his pal in the Torah. Right at the darkest point, when he and Moshe have both given up, he says, I'm going to give my spirit to these two fellows. There's Eldod, Almighty's beloved, and my Dode, this man from the sea who is cleansing and going to provide life-saving waters, who supports Dode. Those are the two guys. They're going to make it all happen in the end. Not to worry, I've got this all planned. He even, in his creation accounts, spoke of the greater and lesser luminaries associated with the Moed, these very things he's talking about in the end, the Moedim, that are associated with the Moed, that are going to restore life and provide access to life, just as Dode returns as the sun. And that's one of the most amazing things in the Ode to Dode that Yahweh wrote in the 89th Mizmor. He says that Dode comes back as the sun, so that the moon will always be remembered. And so the moon and the sun are forever tied together in this way, not in the sense of that big ball of fire and that big rock out there, but in the sense of the relationship of generating this life-giving light and returning so brilliantly, and the one that God has chosen to reflect his light.
There are two, is Israel, since she's a clueless woman. I know because I come from them. There are two men standing up in Yahweh's name. That would be Yada and Dode.
It's likely.
If you need someone to point out to you, because we are clueless and lost and utterly self-reliant, which is a joke, we're not going to go anywhere that way. But if you need someone to point out the way, that's your guy.
Yeah. One time I had thought they might be Abraham and Sarah, because they are their mother and the father of the original covenant. But that would make Yahweh's name feminine, and it clearly isn't. It's a masculine name. Every reference to Yahweh is always father and he, masculine, singular.
Including his ruach.
Yeah, so even
ruach.
when he deploys his ruach, he talks about it's his influence. So Yahweh is masculine, singular. So the individuals standing in his name have to be two individuals that God has chosen to represent him, and they would be the greater and lesser luminary. One in the middle, one at the end of his name. And so that this has been a point Leo's tried to make.
But there's only one of
time,
those men, only one, who took the time to explain it in great detail. Dode did in his writings, but the only one who's been able to unlock that is Yada.
Dode made enormous contributions to understanding the Torah, both with the 19th and 119th Mizmor. And they are beautiful for understanding the Torah. Yeah. The one reflecting his light, his herald, has actually gone much further. My books on the Torah, these 35 books that behind me, all of which include Torah, do go way beyond what Dode did. Now, that is as we would expect. Dode only had the Torah to work with. And so, that's
the way things work.
It forward in time to see certain things. And Dode describes many of these things, and he was the one that was the first to figure out in the Torah that it was his responsibility to serve as the Passover lamb. He figured it out. I figured it out looking at it, and I'm not Dode, so I could figure it. I know he figured it out from that. And Dode wrote beautifully about the Torah,
Very
explaining
so.
even the alphabet, that it was based to us. And his herald's job is to amplify what he has done. That is the mission. Anyway, this is a powerful statement in Yoel 2:23. It explains exactly what we are doing today and how you can capitalize upon it. So, having read the signs that, of course, have been posted along the way in coming home, we have every reason to be joyous, even in the midst of the worst that man has to offer during the time of Yaakov's troubles. The fact is that this is actually a wonderful announcement. The shimmering silver lining, if you will, surrounding the most ominous of all clouds. This is exceedingly good news. This means that Yahweh's got a plan. We're fulfilling the plan that he has laid out, and it all turns out to be this joyous celebration in the end. And so no doubt the rain on the lands that man has parched will serve as a lovely metaphor, but that's not the object of this prophetic proclamation, although there will be a lot of water that will flood off the Temple Mount as the Adamah Parah is sacrificed to cleanse the last mortal remnant of Yisrael. But God is pouring forth his Torah teaching for me and for you. And through the Moreh, he is pointing out the directions along Zion, the signs posted along the way, to the Malkush, those where the real growth brings an abundant harvest. God is bringing us back to Gan Eden, to the garden of great joy, Ba Ha Rishon, as was intended from the beginning. So since Yahweh said this, it would be disrespectful and counterproductive for us to ignore it, particularly through Yoel, which was the prophet for this specific period of time. This is Yoel's job. We talk about Yeshayah having written the textbook for how to be a choder and how to respond to the choder, and the Nakar and the Zeroah and all of this. And he is brilliant at putting the pieces together for us, and without it, we wouldn't have any clue how we should be operating now. And he was absolutely spectacular at that. But when it comes to just this period that we're in right now, and we're going to be in for the next 99 months, this is the guy. He is the expert on this time. And so we need to listen to what God said about the autumn of our existence as mankind separated from God. The remedy is in the final four Moed Mikre, recognizing that three transpire in the fall, and particularly those that will be fulfilled in the fall in year 6,000 Yah. So we are the voice of Shabuah and the living embodiment, boy, is that ever true, of Teruah. The Zeroah is sowing and cultivating the seeds which will result in these harvests. This is a beautiful, affirming presentation of God's plan.
So before we go on, let's make a what if here. What if you're a Yahud who is now listening to an archive of this sometime during Jacob's trouble? Where would you go to find this wonderful moray, this teaching and guidance that's promised by Yahweh?
Yada Yah or Yada Yahowah, whichever you prefer.com. That's where I would go, because you will find all 35 books that lay all of this out for your examination, for your edification at YadaYah.com, including this one on the harvest, which we're discussing right now. It is available in its entirety at YadaYah.com, or if you prefer, Yada Yahowah.com. Both will take you to exactly the same place. And you can even begin with a book like this one, An Introduction to God. It will describe the nature of the Hebrew language. It will describe the original alphabet that the Torah was written in. It will take you through the grammar so that you understand the very uniqueness of Hebrew. For example, in Hebrew, there's no past, present, and future tense. All things that are conveyed are simply true. It will take you through that whole process, and then you'll from there have a foundation. In fact, in this series called An Introduction to God, you're going to find that Dod's 119th Mizmor is presented in its entirety to give you this great foundation to grow from there. And then there's a series called Yada Yahowah, of which Qatsyr Harvest happens to be the 5th volume, that begins with creation and walks you through every aspect of creation to show magnificent things. For example, God describes the creative process over 6 24-hour days. And when you look at the cosmic radiation background from the Big Bang, which we know how time was stretched in the proximity of great energy and velocity and mass, what God says is that the 24-hour days, when you divide the 14 and soon going to probably be 15 billion years from the time of the Big Bang. I say will soon be because, well, the Webb telescope has now found galaxies that are more than 13.8 billion light years remote from us, which means what I've always thought, that we had the timing of the temperature of core confinement wrong, and therefore the universe is probably closer to 15 billion years old. And while it began, as Yahweh said, with a Big Bang, there were lots of Big Bangs. It began simultaneously everywhere at the same time, as opposed to in one place. And when you do the math and you take 15 billion years and you divide that by 10 to the 12th power, which is the cosmic radiate background being stretched, you come with exactly 6 24-hour days. So God's timing is, from the perspective of someone at creation, is exactly accurate with 6 24-hour days. And we're living in that final 6th day at this moment. But you'll go through that series and you'll be taken into the garden and experience exactly what happened there. So you have this great appreciation for what God's going to bring us back to. I think it's the most insightful presentation ever written on the conditions of the garden. You're actually going to see the conditions too of the flood and what God said, how it would be initiated with a deep upwelling of seed water. And you're going to take a journey to the Berkel impact crater and show that's exactly how it happened. And the tsunami went up the Tigris and Euphrates river valleys up right into the Black Sea, which is where all of these people were living at the time that God wanted to remove, because they were too religious, too much well, Hamas is the term that he uses. They were terrorists back in their day. That you can see the Dead Sea at that time goes from fresh water to salt water and rises 500 feet, and that rushes out the Bosphorus Strait. We have all of the evidence of this. We can even locate where Eden was. It's when you use your head and you read what the terms are, it's just a marvelous expose of
okay.
Of
So you figured out a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sold. How much do your books cost?
Oh, well, online. Well, if you were to read this book, which is 825 pages, this one is free. Oh, okay. But I said
free?
you should.
Wait,
I
free?
should start. But I said you
Free?
should start with this one, which is the first of 3 in the Introduction to God. That series, if you wanted to have access to the entire series online, well, that would cost you nothing.
Do you
if
need to
you were
subscribe?
interested in learning about what's wrong with Christianity, so that you might be able to accept that Dowd is the actual Messiah and the Son of God who was crucified by the Romans in 33 CE. There's 5 volumes of this series. Collectively, those 5 volumes will cost you nothing.
Wow.
Well, then you do have the series on Islam, which is necessary to protect Jews from their current enemy that is seeking to perpetrate genocide on them. They're 4,200 pages of analysis, most comprehensive analysis ever written of Islam, taking the Quran, putting it in chronological order, and bringing it into the context of Muhammad's life as was revealed through the Hadith. That 4,200 pages is, let's see, what was the price on that? Oh, that's also free. Then there's a series called Coming Home, probably my favorite series. This is about Dowd's Mizmor. There are currently 3 volumes of this, will soon be a 4th volume. The combined price of this series, what do we price it at?
0.
Oh, that was free too. We don't even ask for your email address. Nothing.
No subscriptions, no clubs,
no nothing,
no phone numbers,
no
nothing to join, nothing to pay. There's not a donate button.
No,
we
don't even give you the opportunity. So let's say if you read them and you're really appreciative, we don't even give you a donate button. We will, however, if you read them and you're equipped and prepared to help, we will encourage you to help share this message, and by sharing it, work and support us on X or on Facebook or on YouTube.
And if you're Israeli, we want to hear from you
and help us convey this message. But
yes,
that's the autumn rain.
There's no clubs.
Cost you a zip.
Yep, no clubs to join.
Nope.
No subscription.
Nope.
No payments.
Nope.
No nothing. No.
Actually, because God said He's providing the more.
Yep, that's right.
So it's we are being extended by Yahowah for this purpose. We're delighted to have this opportunity, and that is why we're here. And that has brought us to the conclusion of this program. Do not be surprised, however, as we have Family Hour tomorrow, as powerful as this last section has been, that we might return to it and share it again during Family Hour, because this is a really important revelation from God to His people. So I thank you for listening to this episode of the Yahowah blog from the library studio. Wookie, we're delighted you were able to be here with us, and the smiling Leah, who does inside now but does not do outside with as much passion and zeal.
It's like a sauna out there.
Yeah, no, it's really lovely this time of year in the Caribbean. My favorite time of year. But thank you all for listening. We look forward to being with you on our next program. Good day.